Sushmita Sen has suffered with a heart attack a couple of days ago. 50 to 60 people have suffered with massive heart attacks, especially young generation people, in last couple of days in Telangana. Not just that, Telangana government even laid a campaign of awareness how to protect in emergency conditions of people suffering with heart attacks. Not just that, you might have seen many celebrities, many youngsters losing their lives due to heart attacks in recent times, especially in recent couple of months to 1 year span of time. Some people are many people are losing lives in awkward situations, like people are falling off in the gyms, people are falling off while they're doing cardio or marathons, or just falling off apart, right? What's actually happening? What is the actual root cause of these heart attacks? We are going to learn in this video. We are also going to learn about 100% proven tactics that you can implement in your life to prevent heart attack to yourself and your loved ones. To stay tuned for this video. Hi, this is Akhil Nirugatti. I'm a holistic nutritionist, nutritional therapist, holistic cancer coach, and disease reversal expert. I'm on a mission to help at least 100,000 people to lead a disease-free lifestyle and achieve longevity through holistic nutrition. So today we are going to discuss about this topic because it is trending. I'm seeing many people on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram daily. People are losing life, especially youngsters. What's really happening? You'll understand that, and you need to understand that this particular video is going to be a two-part video. The first part, I'm going to talk about the root causes, what actually happens in your body, in your system, why the heart attacks are happening, and also we're going to talk about all the aspects of which can intensify the heart attacks. And the second part of this video, we're going to talk about 100% proven tactics to how to reverse the heart condition, or even prevent it 100%, by which foods are going to help you, what tactics are going to help you. We're going to talk about in the part 2 video, so stay tuned for the part 2 video as well. So let's start right away. So I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, I hope my screen is visible to every one of you. So what are the actual root causes of heart attacks? Okay, so there may be many root causes. There can be high fat diet, there can be stress, there can be different things, there can be side effects of medication, but we are not going to talk about all these things, but we're going to talk about what's really happening and what's driving that, what is happening in your body. Okay, so let's start with the root causes. What is the actual primary root cause of it? Okay, so predominantly the actual root cause is high fat diet. And you can ask me that, Akhil, why are you saying that high fat diet is not good for you? Because it is really not good for you. Because in social media, if you see today, be it foreign social media, be it Indian social media, most of people are boasting about fats. Eat a high fat diet, eat a high protein diet, eat very low carb diet. You might have seen this kind of procedure in all over the YouTube, all over the profiles and on social media. Especially people are going on low carbohydrate diet, people are going on very high protein diet. You need to understand this kind of trend is not for good. Okay, so I'll make you understand why it is not good for you in a crystal clear way, doing some experiments and also doing some different kinds of pictorial formats explanation. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so when it comes to high fat diets, people today are mostly going on keto diets, paleo diets, high fat diets, Mediterranean diets, low carb diets, Atkinson diets, high protein, high fat diets. These diets are not going to do good for you. Why these are not going to do good for you? We'll understand that in a moment. Okay, so first of all, let's start with what's really happening. If you take fats, there are of two kinds of fat. You know that, right? It is good fats and bad fats. If you ask me what are the good fats, obviously many people know this, that all the nuts and seeds like cashew, pistachios, almonds, walnuts, all these things, and seeds like flax seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, nut butters, ghee, sesame seeds, and seed oils, groundnut oil, and omega-3 fatty acids from fish. All these are good. I agree that. I'm not denying that. But you also need to understand that if these kind of oils, if these kind of fats, if you are taking excess, these are not going to do good for you. Please keep this point in mind. Okay, these, if you are taking this kind of nuts and seeds, fats, high fat diets, high fatty trend, these are not going to do good for you. Why these are not going to do good for you, I'll also explain that in a moment. Okay, so you need to understand that. Okay, so you need to understand that why I'm saying this is wrong. So just use some little logic, and you know we need to use little bit logic here. So let's understand, if we are in 18th century, not in 21st century. If we take, we are in 18th century, or even back then in 17th century. At that time, if you want to extract an almond or a badam from its badam fruit, you know, the fruit, it used to take a lot of effort to break it down, to extract seed from it manually through your hand. I think you might have known this. Even in my childhood, in our childhood, we used to have a badam tree in our playground or in the streets. We used to hit with the stones, and just the tree, the fruit used to break down, and we used to break it with stones. We used to eat the pulp, and then the inner shell is so hard. We used to break it with the stone, and then we used to remove the seed, the almond nut, and we used to eat that almond nut, and we used to feel very happy. So you imagine extracting this kind of nut back then in 18th century and 17th century, 1700s, 1800 year. It was very, very difficult for people to do it manually. It is not that easy today. How much it is easy today, it is not that easy back then. And not just that, if you want to extract oil from the seeds, let's say you want to extract oils from sesame seeds or mustard seeds or groundnut oils, okay, or from groundnuts or from peanuts, let's say you want to extract, so you need to have good amount of physical effort, manual effort, and you need to do lot of churning for it, be it cold pressed oil, be it wood pressed oil. It is very difficult, way more difficult back then to extract oils from that. So that is why we used to consume very, very little amounts of oils, very, very little amounts of nuts and nut butters and all these things. And mind you that the meat consumption was also way less in India back then. And let's take fast forward to today. What's happening? We are equipped with a lot of machinery. The research, scientific terms, technicalities have been drastically improved. We can extract, quintals and tons of nuts and oils in a minutes and hours go. In it just way to go. Okay. So in this particular time, it's very, very easy for someone to extract oil from certain seeds or some nuts, or remove this nut. That's why the consumption of these nuts and seeds and oils have been drastically increased. That is one point reason. Keep this in mind. Okay, I'll talk about it. Previously it was not like that. So let's talk about the bad fats. Saturated fats, palm oil, bad oil, fats coming from animal based foods, fats coming from milk products, eggs, trans fats, red meat. These are not good for you. You people already know that. These fats are not going to do good for you. These fats are going to harm you, that but mind you that if you're taking good fats also in excess, it is going to harm you. If you're taking such bad fats, it's definitely going to harm you. But if you're taking good fats also in excess, it's going to harm you. Please keep that point in mind. Why I'm saying is because if you see from the year 2017 or 18, something like that, something in that particular era, the high fat trend has gained so much popularity. People used to say that you can consume high fat, high protein, nothing is going to happen to you, but you should consume low carbohydrate. Until and unless your sugars are low, until and unless your carbohydrates are low, high fat content is not going to harm you. You might have listened to that. That is why low carb diets, keto diets, paleo diets are trending right now, are going on right now. But mind you, these diets are not going to do good for you, because a high fat diet over a period of time is going to overburden the liver. A high fat diet, excess amounts of fat, is going to put a lot of stress on the liver. Once you put a lot of stress on the liver over a period of time, liver loses the ability to thin out the blood. So you need to understand, whenever you are eating fats, your blood will become thick, because fats are thick, they are more denser, they are high in calories. Absolutely right, right? So when you're eating high fat diet, if your liver is not able to thin the blood properly, your body is being circulated with thick blood. If your body is circulating with thick blood, for your heart to pump out this thick blood, it is very very difficult. It needs to put lot of pressure, right? It's absolutely right, right? So you need to understand that. So for example, let's say I'm just showing this, so showing you this diagram. Please make sure, see. So for example, if all the body parts are getting thick blood, okay, so that means your heart has to put lot of pressure to pump that thick blood to all the parts of the body. If the blood is thin, if let's say if the blood is thin, like consistency of water, for heart it requires very less amount of pressure, or less amount of pump to pump the blood to overall parts of the body. But if you are taking fatty blood, thick blood, and oil is passing out, how much amount of pressure it used to be on the on the heart? That itself is blood pressure, my friend, not something else or something. I'm explaining you in a lame way, in a very very easy way. Please make sure to know about this. So if your heart pressure is high, that's blood pressure, and what people do, people put you on blood thinners. Am I right? So people put you on blood thinners. Okay, blood thinners, cholesterol pills, aspirin, and all these things. What are these? These are blood thinners. It is clear your blood is getting thick, your blood pressure is rising, your cholesterol is rising. That's why your doctor is giving you a blood thinner. And blood thinner will thin out the blood, and blood will become little less dense, little less oily, and it can function well, and your heart cannot get that thing. Okay, so now I'm going to explain this thick blood and thin blood, the scenarios between these things, with an experiment, with a pictorial format of experience. Let's get started with that experiment. Okay, yeah. So hey guys, welcome to this experiment. So what I'm going to do is, I've just taken some water in a cup, okay, some oil in another cup, okay. So yeah, I'm just going to explain some things with respect to this. For example, let's say you have eaten fatty food. Let's say you have eaten fatty food. So I'm just putting here the fatty food, I'm putting just here, okay. So you have eaten a fatty food, okay. So now what happens is, as soon as it goes into the bloodstream, it will be in a consistency of oil. Your blood will be on a consistency of oil, okay. So if you are eating high fat food for a long period of time, or let's say if you ate fatty food for the first time, your blood will become into a consistency of this. You know that, right? Oil consistency is a little thick, okay. And then what happens? The liver comes into the picture, okay. So I hope it is visible clearly, okay. So yeah, so then the liver comes into the picture, okay. Once the liver comes, okay, once you ate fatty food, and then you take your blood became a consistency of oil, that is thick, okay. Then the thick blood goes into the liver, and then liver thins out the blood. Liver thins out the blood and gives a solution of thin blood. That means pure blood. Your liver gives a solution of thin blood, which is pure blood, which is thin in consistency and good in number. Okay. So this is the thing. For example, that the thing is that if you ate fatty food, as soon as possible, it becomes into a thick blood. Blood becomes thick because the fats are little dense in nature. That's why once the blood becomes thick, your liver comes into the picture. Blood, obvious, you know that, right? Your liver filters the blood n number of times in a minute and many number of times in a day. Okay, once it goes into the liver, okay, once it goes into the liver thins out the blood so that this blood can be pumped to heart. Okay, can be pumped to heart without any friction or any kind of obstacles. For example, let's say this is your fresh, what do you call it, fresh blood which is not of toxins, which is thin. Let's say this is your heart. I've just written a heart. Okay, for example, let's say this heart, the blood is going here. This is heart. Okay, the bowl is heart, the bowl is heart, the cup is the cup, the water in the cup is pure blood which is thinned by the liver. Once this blood goes into the liver, okay, it is able to move properly, easily. So that means the circulation happens very easily, and then you can the heart can pump the blood with ease, right? So this is what happens with a good liver, okay, if that person is on a high fat diet. Okay, so for example, let's say if that person is on low fat diet, okay, this is low fat, right? So low fat diet, I hope it is visible. This is low fat diet, and then what happens is the blood will not become thick. So what is low fat diet? Low fat diet is basically a diet which is full of fruits and vegetables and grains, which is having less oils, less fats. So once it is low fat, the blood in normally it will be thin only. The blood will be obviously thin, okay, and then it goes to the, and then what does liver do? Liver sees the blood is already thin, and it makes more pure. It makes your blood more pure so that this blood can circulate in the, and in the overall body part circulatory system, and it will not put pressure on the heart. That's why this what, let's say this water is blood. Okay, I'm assuming this water is blood. So this blood is moving freely. That means the heart is able to function properly. It is able to pump with ease. So for example, this pressure is pumped, it is able to move easily, right? This pressure which I'm putting on this, the water is able to pump easily. Okay, now let's see another scenario where you are eating fatty food but your liver became compromised. Okay, so let's see that scenario. So yeah, let's see the scenario of a person is on very high fat diet for a long period of time. The person is on a high fat diet for a long period of time. Then what happens? This liver will become sluggish over time. That means this liver will be on stress over time, because liver has to produce bile to digest fats. Okay, over a period of time, by producing bile consistently, it becomes fatty liver. Okay, the bile production stops. Once the bile production stops, the fats directly enter into this liver, and it starts getting fat accumulation. So once that happens, your liver loses the ability to thin out the blood. Then what happens? Okay, you ate fatty food, the person ate fatty food, the blood became so thick. Okay, the blood became so thick, the thick blood went into the liver, and the blood hasn't been thick as it used to be before. For example, if you see this closely, this blood is little thick in nature because it has oil in it. I've wantedly put oil so that you can, you can understand little much in a much better way. For example, see this water, it's pure water, that means pure blood, thin blood. This is thick blood, which is water with full of oil. Okay, this is thick blood. Now this thick blood, okay, so for example, that means, to say simply, the person has eaten fatty food for over a long period of time, the liver is becoming sluggish, and once he eats fatty food, the blood gets thick, oil consistency, and this thick blood goes into the sluggish liver, and then liver is not able to thin out the blood properly. That's why there is pale yellow oil kind of color. Okay, so now what happens? Now this thick blood, if it goes to your heart, so this is your heart again. Okay, if it goes to your heart, okay, So this is your thick blood. If it goes to your heart, okay. So now tell me, is it moving as fluently as water? No. Now if I'm putting pressure as previously, it is not moving as fluently as before. So this is thick blood. Thick blood won't move fast as thin blood, as pure blood. That is why this thick blood requires more pressure. That means if I'm putting like this, like this, like this, even then the oil is moving very, very slowly. That means thick blood with the consistency of oil is moving very, very slowly. Getting it? So that is why this is how I'm able to put lot of pressure to push this thick blood inside, the oil inside. That means your heart needs more pressure to pump a thick blood. Are you getting it? So that is how blood pressure forms. I hope this experiment has helped you. As I hope this experiment helped you to understand the scenario of thick blood and thin blood. Okay, so let's get back to the normal PDF session, normal screen sharing session. So I'll be back. Another thing I forgot to mention is that in thick blood, oxygen carrying capacity is very less. That means oxygen travels very slowly. If oxygen travels very slowly, that is the ground rule for heart attacks in the blood, and that is the ground rule for brain not getting oxygen and you're not staying active. But in thick blood, but in thin blood, but in pure blood, it travels very easily. For you to simply explain with an example, for example, let's say I'm just putting this pepper powder, just a little bit of it, in a thin blood. Okay. Now see, if you are able to see it, it can move easily. It can mix easily with the blood. For example, if I stir it with a spoon, something like that. Just a second. Okay. So for example, if you see in this thing, the pure blood is carrying enough good amount of oxygen, so that this oxygenated blood will go to your liver, will go to your heart, and your heart will be fine. Okay. On the other hand, for example, let's say this is your thick blood. Okay. In this thick blood, I'm just putting this, okay, oxygen. Okay. If you see clearly, the oxygen, that means the pepper powder, is just sitting at one place in this thick blood. That means the oxygen level 2, the oxygen also sits in only one particular place and will not disperse into all of your blood, thereby giving you less oxygen to all the parts of the body. That means thick blood will not carry oxygen effectively to all the parts of the body, right? So this is the thing which I wanted to explain. So I hope this experiment has helped you to understand a lot of scenarios in a proper way. So yeah, let's get going. So I hope that experiment has been helpful for you in understanding what is the thick blood, what is the thin blood, and everything. This is actually called thick blood syndrome, where people are consistently in thick blood. Thick blood also leads to insulin resistance, because the same thing happened. The insulin in the blood also moves very slowly because of the blood is thick, because of high fat diet. Okay, that itself leads to diabetes, not the sugar problem. Okay, we'll discuss that in a later kind of later kind of video. But yeah, let's get back to this thing. Okay, so this is the thing which happens exactly when you are eating a high fat diet. Okay, now let's go to liver health, which I have explained now clearly, right? So one more thing I just want to explain is that for most of us have these things. That is, a small clots in the blood, in the blood vessels, are common for everyone. Small blood clots, or clots in the blood vessels, are common, right? We have, I have, you have, everyone will have. But if the clot is big or clot is small, if the blood is thin, even if the clot is big or small, if the blood is thin, it can directly go into the heart and nourish the heart and come out of the outside of the heart easily. But let's say if the blood is thick, because of high fat diet, because of non sluggish liver, then what happens? Even a small clot or even a big clot can interrupt this blockage, can interrupt the flow of the blood in the heart. I hope you're getting my point, right? What I'm trying to say is, for example, let's say if your blood is thin, you're a healthy person, you are eating low fat diet, your liver is good, you'll obviously have thin blood. The thin blood, even if there are clots, the blood can move in the heart, in the blood vessels and the arteries very easily because it is thin. It is simple, like in a narrow road, even a bike or a cycle can go in a very narrow, crowded with traffic road. But if you take a car, it cannot go there. It is like a thick blood. Car is like thick blood. A bike or a bicycle is like a thin blood. They can pass to the gullies easily, but the car cannot. The same happens here. The thin blood can pass through the blood easily, through the blood vessels easily, through the heart easily. Thereby, even if there are vehicles, that means clots, it can go through easily. But if it is a car, if it is a thick blood, like a car in a small gully, even if a small bike comes, it has to stop. Once the car stops, once the thick blood stops, boom, that's a heart attack, right? So I hope this has been helpful experiment. Okay, so I'm just diving it a little more deeper here. Okay, of course we'll be covering a lot more in the next session. So but yeah, I'm just doing talk about liver health. Okay, if you are eating high fat diet, it leads to fatty liver, and fatty liver leads to thick blood. Your liver cannot thin the blood, as I said before. This can lead to thick blood syndrome. You can also call it thick blood syndrome, where your blood reports will be showing high cholesterol, high fats, high triglycerides, and increased LDL cholesterol, and a lot of this stuff. Okay, now thick blood syndrome also acts as like what you call it, then thick blood syndrome, you will be given cholesterol pills like aspirin, blood pressure medication, and also omega 3 and all these things which can thin out the blood, right? So then what happens, if your blood is thick, it requires more and more pressure for your heart to pump the blood to all the parts of the body, right? So that's why blood pressure comes, diabetes comes because of insulin resistance. I explained before in the previous video. I've also explained. Please do check out that. And then also it can lead to heart problems, because if the blood is thick, even if it is a small obstacle, even if it is a small vehicle in the narrow road, the car cannot move. Car in the sense thick blood. Car means thick blood. Bike means thin blood. A thin blood can move even if there is small clots or big clots, because it can gully and go away fastly. It can, and the blood pressure is the pressure of the blood, the heart can be easily calibrated. But in the case of thick blood, if it is like a car, if it is a thick blood, it cannot pass through the narrow lanes easily, because even if a small vehicle comes, the blood can stop. Blood cannot be, cannot be moving fluidly. Even if, let's say, if there is a big clot came, that means on the either side also there is a big car coming like this. Then what happens? Your blood has to stop there itself. No oxygen in the blood. Then boom, it's a heart attack. That is what happening with the heart attack inside your body. Okay. So this is what it is. I hope this video has explained for you very, very clearly about heart attack. And then what happens if you are diagnosed with blood pressure, diabetes, heart problems, then your blood cannot be thick. If it is thick, it is the recipe for heart attacks whenever it is possible. That's why what your doctor does, your doctor puts you into medication like blood thinners, cholesterol pills, aspirins, and a lot of other stuff, so that the symptoms can be prevented, the blood can be thinned as soon as possible. But it is not addressing the root cause. What is the root cause? The root cause is high fat diet. Okay. So yeah, now I'm just a little bit diving into the stress and adrenal factor. Lack of sleep, stress, and excessive gym also causes the problem. How these can cause the problem, and what kind of foods you need to eat to prevent heart attack for you and your family and your loved ones and the near ones and your friends, all people, that will know in the next coming video, which is going to be up next week. Thank you so much for your patience and your time for listening to this particular video. I'm 100% sure this is going to help you a lot with respect to your mindset. To say simply, reduce your cooking oils, reduce your nuts and peanut butters and all these things. I'm not saying they are wrong. You can eat. Increase your fruits and vegetables intake. Increase a lot of fruit, lot of vegetables, lot of lemon water, coconut water. You need to hydrate yourself. You need to hydrate yourself. The more you hydrate, the thin the blood gets. This is what is happening. People are just getting into, people are eating lots of fats and not drinking enough water, not drinking hydrating fruits and vegetables. Fruits are hydrating, right? If you're not eating fruits and vegetables, your blood will be thick and thick. It can lead to disasters. Okay, we'll know all about this thing, how exercise is going to affect, what kind of exercise is right, what kind of foods are going to help you. So if you love this video and this kind of explanation, drop a comment in the below in the comment box, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel. That motivates me to do this kind of content a lot more often. And also please subscribe to this channel. We'll meet in the next video. If you want to know about weight loss, if you want to know about diabetes, please links are here, click the videos here. Thank you so much. We'll meet in the next video. Stay tuned.